Social Economic Rights and Accountability Project Serap has called on President Muhammadu Buhari to withdraw the directive containing a sweeping gag order to ban journalists and broadcast stations from reporting details of terrorist attacks and victims across the country. In an open letter to the President dated 7 July 2021, the National Broadcasting Commission (NBC) directed by asking journalists and television and radio stations in Nigeria to stop glamorizing and giving too many details on the nefarious activities of terrorists and kidnappers during their daily newspaper reviews. And Serap, in a letter dated and signed by its Deputy Director Kolawole Oluwadari, and said the content of the directive by the NBC to journalists and broadcast stations are entirely inconsistent and incompatible with Nigerians' obligations under Article 9 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights and Article 19 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. And Serap warned that if the repressive publication is not withdrawn within 24 hours, all appropriate legal actions in the public interest will be taken.
As I speak to you, the brand new planes that are brought in cannot fly 6 months after. Cannot fly. We are ready. NC has given us the right and everything to go. But we cannot fly as I speak to you now because customs is gone back to be charging us in flagrant disobedience of the law, to be charging airlines surcharge on duties that are non-existent. On our spare parts and everything, they put surcharge. What they do is they will give you the duty. Maybe the duty is 500 million. They waive the duty, but they now charge you 7% of that 500 million. So there's no foundation for that. That is illegal, absolutely illegal. And airlines are being made to go through this. If not for the Honorable Minister of Aviation, airlines would have gone on strike and decided to down tools. We've been discussing that and they think it's a joke. But there's a limit to which we can listen to our minister, because the minister wants us to fly safe too. There's a limit. So they gave you the assessment carries the duty that has been outlawed. They'll tell you, okay, we're waiving it, but we are charging you 7% of what is not supposed to exist. So we call on the Senate of the country to help us address this issue. If you are not able to bring in your spare parts as and when due to get the aircraft up, that is a problem. Passengers must experience delays because the fewer planes that will be available, if anything happens to any of them, you have to wait for one to go around Nigeria before doing another flight. That is why you fly at midnight at times. We need customs to change the way they deal with us. The government of this country has given us this, because the president of this country is highly interested in indigenous investments surviving. He didn't waste a minute in signing this into law. So why should any government agency not feel the pulse of the man on the beat and everybody is criticizing him? If something like this happens to the president, that one happens to the president, he has done his bit. And he must be praised for doing his bit. Another one is the end user certificate that we are supposed to get from the National Security Advisor's Office. They developed a portal where there are certain parts that are designated as dangerous goods. You must get the end user certificate before you are allowed to import those parts. Even those countries where the parts will be coming from will not even allow you to ship until you bring that from the Nigerian government. Let me give you an example. One Airpeace aircraft, nothing is wrong with that aircraft apart from one spare part. We identified the spare, we paid for the spare, it took us 3 months to get the end user certificate. If you go to the portal, I don't know, they don't know how to address the portal, they don't know how to go through it. It took us 3 months while the plane was lying there on the ground. That's colossal loss. I'm bringing this to the fore so that some of the agencies, they may not know, to help us. Aviation is not a profitable venture. I'm happy you have a distinguished Senator Nala with you. It's not a profitable venture. It is not. But it takes it's addictive. When you go into it, it's addictive. You can close your other businesses to go into it. Our minister knows more than I do. He's both a pilot and an engineer, aircraft engineer. So it's addictive. Once you're into it, you never do any other thing again. Those of us in it are just in it for service. And we should be helped to help our country. I think also the airports should be helped to, develop more parking spaces. Now we are bringing in more planes. So many airlines are coming, bringing in more planes. There are going to be planes all over. But the parking spaces are not there. So sometimes in the morning, if you have a 6:30 flight, Arik will need to do some push, at least to extricate one aircraft. All those time wasted, you can never get them back. So the 6:30 a.m. flight might end up going at 7:30 because of parking constraints. So I think the Ministry of Aviation should be funded more to help us develop more aprons so that we can have more, because a lot of airlines are actually